Hi, I'm Phil Svitek, 360 Creative Coach, and in this episode, I want to tackle the idea that negative thoughts, when validated, are the worst. What do I mean by this? Well, we kind of try to, whenever we're looking for news sources or various things, we try to validate our own opinion, right? And it's very easy. Like it's one of those things. Like if I told you, hey, look at the room right now. Okay, you look at the room, and I'll be like, okay, now that you've seen the room, how many things are red? You might be like, okay, cool. But if I said, okay, now look at the room again and really focus on all the things that are red, your mind is automatically going to gravitate towards pretty much anything that is a semblance of red. We have that sort of bias towards, seeing the things that we're looking for. And the unfortunate problem, when it comes to, especially like the reason I bring this up, we're in this pandemic right now, and there's a lot of false information being spread, unfortunately, and there's a lot of panic being spread as well. And it's a lot easier to just say everything's just have like a negative opinion, right? Or like a prediction of the worst. And then all of a sudden, if that happens, then your mind's already always going to gravitate towards like, well, the worst is always going to happen. And that's just a bad way to think because it's false, right? It's a very limiting belief as psychologists term it, because then you've created like this, Adam Carolla calls it your wiring. So your inherent wiring, the way you operate in life, will be from this negative viewpoint that things can't get better, things don't work, and like that. And I think that's a big problem for people right now, is that they already had a negative viewpoint to begin with, and now that seemingly like the news and so forth is making everything out to be like absolute shit. And I'm not saying that there's not real problems in the world, but there's always a way to overcome this. I've talked about it before, but the idea of having a positive attitude doesn't make you delusional, and it doesn't make your life like easy breezy like I used to think. Your mindset is a choice, and just because you choose to remain optimistic, that doesn't mean that your life is easy breezy, but you've made a choice to be able to surpass that. And so I would encourage you, one of the things to kind of really consider, especially right now, like oftentimes, I see people reacting to the various news that's happening. It's like, oh, what does this mean? And all of a sudden, hey, they're going to shut down all the states. Okay, that means I got to go grocery shopping right here, right now. It's like, wait. Take a step back and really think about that. What does that ultimately mean? Well, first off, it means that not all states are actually practicing stay-at-home procedures. So by implementing a nationwide stay-at-home kind of protocol, it would mean that all states would stay at home. That does not mean like supermarkets are all of a sudden shut down for however many weeks or whatever. So I think, part of the step there is always allow a breath and then really consider, like, where is this coming from? What does this mean? And just ask questions, be curious, because then that won't just feed into your negativity bias. It will allow you that slight separation to really examine it from a more critical perspective. And it doesn't mean like all the stuff that you hear is false. Like some of it is very true, but you can start to understand it for what it actually is versus, what your, I don't know, for lack of a better term, your rational brain might be telling you that it is. So now more than ever, I think it's imperative to continue to remain in a state of like choosing to see a state of positive things. There is positivity, like in all things considered, there's many things to be grateful for. Certainly not everything's been handled the best way, but there are plenty of people in the world that are trying to do the best that they can, and there's bright spots out there. Like when I see, when like even just saying, like in terms of a negative bias, like saying like everything's gone to shit. Well, it's like, no, there's, like when I see videos or pictures of cars pulling up to a house and everyone going by and wishing like whoever's in that house a happy birthday, that's certainly not a case of like everything's gone to shit, right? So we really have to keep perspective, and that's what all of this is really about, is just maintaining a level of clear-mindedness and clear-headedness to see the actual perspective of things, and know that like this is not the end of the world, and there's a way out of this. And sure, things are bad, but we have a choice to make, and we could see the better side of things, and work towards them, right? If you choose to do that, that means you can be part of the solution instead of just being part of the people that just panics. Anyway, I know it's kind of a slight ramble and so forth, but I am really kind of adamant about the idea that negativity, when validated, it just becomes the worst, because it creates inaction. Here's kind of a pre-pandemic version of it. If every time you tried to make a creative project, someone criticized it, let's say, or like you just came up on a hurdle, well, then that would validate the idea that, oh, you should never try because what's the point? And you should just sit on your home and watch TV. And it's like, well, of course there's going to be obstacles no matter what you do in life, and especially if it's your dream and your passion, there's definitely going to be hurdles. And so you can't let those invalidate your passion for something, right? That's what this is really ultimately about. So keep that in mind now and in the future. If you have any questions, comments, by all means, let me know. Whether in the comment section down below, or hit me up on social media at Svitek. If there's someone you think that could benefit from this video, by all means, I encourage you to pass it on to them. I would greatly appreciate it, and I hope they would too. And if you haven't subscribed yet or are following me, I would encourage you to do so, and that way you get the various lessons that I put out right when I put them out. Anyway, thank you for taking the time to tune in, and I hope to see you next time.